3 months ago, I watched my friend Kevin buy a laptop. He walks into the Apple store, tells the employee, I need something basic, just email, web browsing, maybe some light photo editing. The employee nods. Okay, so the MacBook Air starts at $1,099. It'll handle all of that perfectly. Kevin looks at it, picks it up, seems satisfied. Then the employee says, and I want you to pay attention to this exact phrasing. Of course, if you want it to last a bit longer and stay fast, the upgraded model with more memory is only $200 more. Kevin hesitates. You can see it on his face. He came in ready to spend $1,099. He didn't come in planning to spend $1,299. But here's what goes through his head. And I know because he told me later. It's only $200, and if it makes the laptop last longer, I don't want to cheap out and regret it. 10 minutes later, he's walking out with a $1,799 MacBook Pro, $700 more than he planned. For a laptop that does the exact same tasks he needed the $1,099 model for. And this happens to everyone, every single day, with everything. Here's how they get you. Walk into any store, look at any product category, and you'll see the same structure. 3 options: the basic model, the standard model, the premium model, and they're always priced in a very specific way. Let's say you're buying a grill. You go to Home Depot. Option 1, basic 2-burner grill, $179. Option 2, 4-burner grill with side burner and built-in thermometer, $349. Option 3, 6-burner stainless steel grill with rotisserie, LED lights, and a warming rack, $599. Now, you came in thinking you'd spend around $200, but look at what just happened to your brain. The $179 grill suddenly feels cheap. It's the bottom tier. It's what people who don't know better buy. The $599 grill feels excessive. That's for people who are showing off. That's not you. But the $349 grill, that's the sensible upgrade. It's not the cheapest, so you're not being cheap. And it's not the most expensive, so you're not being wasteful. It's the Goldilocks option, so you buy it. But here's the thing. You walked in planning to spend $179. You walked out spending $349. That's a 95% increase. And the grill you bought, it'll cook burgers exactly the same as the $179 model. The extra burners will sit unused 90% of the time. The side burner will become a shelf for your spatula. But you felt like you made the smart choice, the reasonable upgrade. That feeling cost you $170. Let's talk about the most dangerous word in retail, only. It's only $3 more for the large. It's only $50 more for the upgraded trim. It's only $15 extra per month. This word is weaponized. Because only makes the brain do something irrational, it compares the upgrade cost to the base price instead of comparing it to zero. Here's what I mean. You're at a car dealership looking at a Honda Accord. Base model is $28,000. The salesperson says, for only $1,800 more, you can get the upgraded package with leather seats, heated steering wheel, and a sunroof. Your brain does this math. $1,800 compared to $28,000 is only 6.4%. That's nothing, but that's the wrong comparison. The right comparison is, do you want to spend $1,800, not $1,800 more than something else? Just, do you want $1,800 to disappear from your bank account? If I walked up to you on the street and said, hey, give me $1,800 and I'll heat your steering wheel, you'd tell me to get lost. But in the context of a $28,000 purchase, $1,800 feels like a rounding error, and that's the trap. The upgrade is always framed relative to the base price, which makes it feel small. But it's not small, it's $1,800. Let me show you how irrational this gets. You're at Starbucks. You order a tall coffee, 12 Oz for $2.45. The barista asks, would you like to upgrade to a grande? It's only 70 cents more and you get 50% more coffee. Most people upgrade because the math seems obvious, right? 70 cents for 50% more coffee? That's a deal. But here's the thing. You didn't want 50% more coffee. You wanted 12 ounces of coffee. That was the amount you decided you needed. Now you've got 16 ounces, which means you're either going to drink more caffeine than you wanted, or you're going to leave some in the cup. Either way, you just spent 70 cents to get something you didn't need. And 70 cents doesn't sound like much, but you do this 3 times a week. That's $109 a year. Over 20 years invested at 10% returns, that's $6,850. You paid $6,850 over your lifetime for extra coffee you didn't even want because only 70 cents sounded reasonable in the moment. Now multiply that pattern across every purchase decision you make. Phones, cars, airline seats, software subscriptions, streaming services. The only language is costing you tens of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Now let's talk about why this works so well psychologically. There's a cognitive bias called anticipated regret. Basically, your brain is more afraid of feeling like you made the wrong choice than it is of spending extra money. So when the salesperson says you can get the base model, but a lot of people regret not getting the extra storage, your brain immediately jumps to a future scenario where you're frustrated, wishing you'd spent the extra $100. That imaginary future regret feels more real than the very real $100 leaving your account right now. And companies know this. That's why the language is always most people upgrade, or you don't want to regret this later, or it's worth it for the peace of mind. They're selling you insurance against a feeling that might never happen. Here's a quick example. I bought an iPhone 2 years ago. Had the choice between 128 gigabytes and 256 gigabytes. The 256 gigabytes was $100 more. The salesperson said, "Trust me, you'll want the extra storage." People always regret going with the smaller size. So I bought the 256 gigabytes. You know how much storage I'm using right now? 94 gigabytes. I paid $100 for 128 gigabytes of storage that's sitting completely empty. Storage I will never, ever use. But at the time, the fear of regret was stronger than the reality of the cost. Now let's talk about the most insidious version of the upgrade trap, monthly payments. You're looking at a new phone. The base model is $799. The upgraded model is $999. That's a $200 difference, feels significant. But then the salesperson says, if you finance it over 24 months, the base model is $33 a month, and the upgraded model is only $42 a month. That's just $9 more per month. Suddenly, $200 doesn't feel like $200 anymore. It feels like $9. And your brain says, I can afford $9 a month. That's nothing. That's one coffee. So you upgrade. But here's the thing. $9 per month for 24 months is still $216. It didn't get cheaper just because they broke it into smaller chunks. You still spent $216 more than you needed to. And the reason companies push financing so hard is because it works. Breaking a large number into small monthly payments makes people spend 20 to 30% more on average, because $42 per month doesn't feel like $1,008, even though it is. Your brain processes monthly payments as affordable or not affordable, not as the total cost, and that disconnect is costing you a fortune. Let me give you a thought experiment. Imagine you buy the base model of everything for the next 10 years. Phones, laptops, cars, appliances, always the cheapest option that meets your actual needs. Now imagine your friend buys the upgraded model of everything. Not the top tier, just the mid-tier. The sensible upgrade. Let's say across all purchases, your friend spends an average of $200 more per purchase. And let's say you both make 20 major purchases over that decade. That's $4,000 more that your friend spent. But you took that $4,000 and invested it. At 10% returns over the remaining years of your life, let's say 30 years, that $4,000 becomes $69,700. Your friend got slightly nicer stuff for a decade. You got $69,700. Which one actually got the upgrade? Here's one more thing people don't think about, the lie of future proofing. Get the upgraded model so it lasts longer. Spend a little more now so you don't have to replace it as soon. This logic sounds smart, but it's almost always wrong because technology doesn't work that way anymore. By the time the base model would have become obsolete, the upgraded model is also obsolete. I bought a future-proofed laptop in 2017. Spent $2,200 instead of $1,200 because I wanted it to last. You know what happened? In 2023, both versions became outdated at the exact same time. The software I needed didn't run well on either. I paid $1,000 extra to future-proof a product that became obsolete on the same timeline regardless. If I'd bought the $1,200 model and invested the $1,000 difference, I'd have had $1,600 by the time I needed to replace it at 10% returns over 6 years. Enough to buy the newer base model and still have $400 left over. Instead, I got 6 years of slightly faster performance that I didn't actually need. All right, here's how you beat the upgrade trap. Step 1. Decide your budget before you walk in. Not a range, not around $500, an exact number. I'm spending $500. When the salesperson tries to upsell you, your answer is simple. That's outside my budget. Not, I'll think about it. Not maybe. Just, that's outside my budget. Step 2. Ignore the word only. Every time you hear it's only X dollars more, translate it in your head to, do I want to spend X dollars? Not X dollars more than something. Just, do I want to spend dollars X? If the answer is no, don't upgrade. Step 3. Ask yourself, will I actually use this feature? Not might I use it someday? Not could it be useful? Will I, realistically, based on my actual behavior, use this feature at least once a week? If no, you don't need it. Step 4. Calculate the hourly value. If an upgrade costs $200 and you might use the extra feature once a month for 10 minutes over 2 years, that's 24 uses at 10 minutes each equals 4 hours of use. You paid $200 for 4 hours of benefit. That's $50 per hour. Is that feature worth $50 per hour to you? Probably not. Step 5. Buy the base model by default. Make this your rule. Always buy the cheapest version that meets your needs. Not the second cheapest, the cheapest. If you genuinely find yourself limited by it, you can always upgrade later. But 90% of the time, you'll realize the base model was fine all along. Look, nobody wants to feel like they cheaped out. Nobody wants to be the person who bought the worst version. But here's the truth. The base model is almost always enough. The upgrade is almost never worth it. And the feeling of making the smart, sensible upgrade is just marketing making you feel good about spending money you didn't need to spend. Kevin's $1,799 MacBook Pro, he uses it to check email and browse Reddit. The $1,099 MacBook Air would have done the exact same thing. He didn't get $700 worth of extra value. He got $700 worth of imaginary peace of mind. And that's the trap. You're not paying for better performance. You're paying for the feeling that you didn't make a mistake. But the real mistake is spending money to avoid a feeling that was never going to happen in the first place. So here's the move. Next time someone says it's only X dollars more, stop, take a breath, and ask yourself, do I want to spend X dollars? Not compared to anything. Just, do I want to spend X dollars? If the answer is no, walk away. Your future self, the one with an extra $69,700 in the bank, will thank you.